everyone, welcome back to Cottoverdi. My name's Annette and I garden here in the gorgeous English countryside. It's equivalent to a zone 8B. So today I'm going to plant up this big trough that I have here. It's kind of supposed to be coppery coloured, but it's discoloured over the seasons, but that's fine. Now what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to place it on the garden table that we have on our patio where we dine in the summer, but in the winter time it looks very barren and it just makes the space outside my kitchen windows look a bit bare. So I like to put something on the table, and this is the first time that I filmed this for you. So I thought I'd bring you along today as I planted it up and created something that's going to have some evergreen colour through the winter season. So I'm not looking for flowers in particular. What I'm going to do is just try and make sure there's a bit of colour and a bit of life there as we look out in the bleak winter months. That's what I normally go for. Hang on, I just need to let Baloo out. He's asking to come outside with me. Hey, gorgeous. So now that I've let Baloo out, he has joined Cosmo out here in the cold. It is quite cold today, it's a bit frosty, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the plants that I've got stored here in the little nursery we have that are going to go in the trough, and then I'll talk you through what they are and just create hopefully a beautiful display. I absolutely love doing something like this. This is one of my favourite occupations, is creating displays on the table outside the kitchen. It's mad, but I do these really big tablescapes, huge displays on that table in the spring, and then in the winter it's just something more muted. But I could do something bigger, and in fact I've got some pots here that are kind of left over from the summer, and I think I'm going to reuse those. I don't know whether I'm going to keep them in the pots they're in at the moment, but we'll see how it goes. But at the moment I've chosen loads of plants. I've kind of semi-arranged them in the planter just to see how they look. But what I'm going to do now is plant the planter up and talk you through the plants that I've got, because I think some of them are absolutely beautiful. All of these, by the way, are perennial. So every single one of these has been bought to go in a specific spot in the garden. And I am sacrificing planting them out in the garden this autumn in order to create this display, but I've got loads of other stuff that needs to be planted anyway. And these can just go in later when I've finished with this. I mean, if you wanted to create this as an all year round display, that's definitely possible. You can always put perennials into containers. The only thing I would say is don't pack them too tightly, because they'll all grow and they'll need a lot of feeding and watering. So the less plants will be better. But because it's the winter and these just aren't going to grow very much, I'm going to cram them in here just to have something colourful and evergreen to look at. So this container that I'm using, I think you're supposed to, I think it's sold as something that you can put plant pots inside and use it as like a container for plant pots. But I've actually always used it as a planter. So we've drilled holes in the bottom of it. You can see the holes. And then what I do, because these holes would actually be on the ground. If you were to put it on the ground, there wouldn't be any drainage because there's no sort of lip on the bottom. But what I do is I use these sort of plastic feet, and they're really inconspicuous. I'll show you when I do it, but this raises the planter up sufficiently well so that water will drain out of it. So I'm not putting any crocks or anything like that in the bottom. It's not hugely deep, but I'm just going to put a layer of soil and then put all the plants in. So also, the other thing that a lot of people talk about when they're creating planters is to have like a statement piece, and then fillers, and then spillers, something to go over the edge. And I've sort of done that, but not so much. I'm more going for different textures, and that's what I want to do today. So my centerpiece, if you will, is this gorgeous, gorgeous ball of fluff here. Now this is called a Thuja occidentalis danica. So that's, danica is the variety. It's got one sort of little yellow frond there. I'm just going to leave that. But this is going to be my centerpiece. You can see it's been sitting around in the garden a while because it's covered in leaves, and then I'm just going to build around this. But I just love this fluffy texture. Now I've actually got 6 of these in the nursery, and they're going to go out in the garden, and they will grow over time to form really nice balls. And the reason that I want something like this is because firstly it's evergreen, but also we cannot seem to get box to survive in our garden. So you see box all over, you know, English gardens, well, the world over actually, box is used as a really nice sort of structural element, certainly through the seasons, but especially in winter. But here we have the box moth caterpillar that just decimates our plants. And so I'm pulling them all out and I'm replacing them with something like this, which is just going to grow into a nice round ball shape. Now obviously if you want a different type of shape, this can probably be pruned, but I want it to grow in its natural form and I don't need anything particularly tightly clipped. So I'm very excited about having these. So I'm going to put a layer of compost in first. That's what I'm doing. I may just tip this in, otherwise I could be here for a month of Sundays. Now the other thing that I'm going to do is add some just multi-purpose plant food, and I use these sort of granules and just sprinkle them in liberally. Now I don't think that the plants are going to need that much food over the winter period, but just in case, I've just given them a little bit of food. Now the first one that I'm going to plant is, I just want to put my central plant in here. So I've got 2 of these heucheras here, and they've come as little plug plants, and they are berry smoothie, and these are going to be going out into the front garden in the sort of shadier area, but for now I'm going to plant these here in the corner, and they're just going to add that little pop of red. Then next to that I've got this gorgeous grass. Again, it's another textural element, and I think it'll blow around nicely in the breeze. This is a Carex called Frosted Curls. Isn't that gorgeous? It's going to grow to 30 centimetres tall by 45 centimetres wide, so that's about 12 inches by 18 inches, but it'll take like 5 years to get there. And I think this will be gorgeous in my grass border once it's finished being useful in this planter. I really like the fullness. I'm not going to divide it. I'm going to keep it as one whole. And then in each of the corners I'm planting a hebe, and this is something that I'm considering creating sort of an edge to a border with, is just a load of hebes, because I think they're really useful, and again a really nice sort of evergreen structural element. So I'm packing them in, as I said, really tightly, making sure there's a good amount of compost around each one. And then over on this side here, I've got an ajuga, a variegated ajuga called Burgundy Glow. And I've got some of these in the front garden already, but I bought this specifically because I think it just goes really nicely with the heuchera, and that's literally the only reason I bought it. I could have taken some from the front garden, but I didn't want to dig any up. I mean, the root systems on these are just mad. And then round the front here, I'm going to pop in one of these ferns. Again, this has come as a plug plant. I buy a lot of my stuff as plug plants because it's just more economical that way. And these ferns, this is just an ordinary hardy fern, and I think it's called something like Blechnum spicant or something like that. Yes, Blechnum spicant. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that is going to, I've popped it in there. Oh, I'm making a right mess. Those will grow to 60 centimetres tall, so they're definitely not going to stay here in this container. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of duplicate what I did round the other side, and but just do opposite. So I've got a hebe over here and I'm putting this one in the opposite corner. And then I'll put a little heuchera in this corner. And then my textural element in this corner over here is going to be this lovely carex here. This one's called Ice Dance. It's just got this lovely variegated stripe on the outside of the leaves. So Ice Dance again is only going to grow to 30 centimetres tall by 45 wide. So it's going to be another shorter one, and I'm going to be able to divide this when I plant it out. I can clearly see spaces where I can make divisions come the spring. And then round here, again, picking up the red, I've got a euonymus. This one's called Emerald Gaiety, but I just really love that sort of pinky colour. And I'm going to pop that in here because I think it's just going to tie everything in with those gorgeous pinky colours on the leaves. I always stick my labels inside so I don't forget which variety I've got. I think it's looking good. I really love it. I feel like this side just needs a little pop of red. So I'm just going to, let me turn it around. So you can see the other side is looking very similar, just with slightly different plants. And I'm thinking that I'll just put a little bit of another one of these heucheras in there. So this is the Berry Smoothie heuchera, and I'm just going to pop that in to put a little bit of a colourful spark. Now I know everyone always says, oh, green's a colour, but I'm a girl that likes more colour than that. So I think that will do nicely. Oh, that is so cute. I love it. So I am going to water this in, just mostly to rinse off the foliage, but also because I want to water everything, and even though the compost is slightly damp, just to give it a head start. But I think it's going to rain tomorrow anyway, so I am not going to give it a load of water. And then through the winter, I won't bother watering this at all. We are definitely going to get enough rain, sufficient rain here in the UK, for me not to have to worry about any watering on my containers. So this cypress here, or whatever it is, this conifer, it's a really nice bright green, and I wish I had two, but I don't. I've only got one. But I use this quite a lot in my arrangements on the table because it really is like a bright pop of colour. And then the other thing I've got here is another hebe. Can we see this hebe? So I've also got this hebe here, and I'd like to put that on the table. But then also this, which is a cotton lavender, which I did buy to go in that trough, but actually I didn't really feel like it fit. I think that this is going to be a nice collection here. So I want to put this up so that I can have this threesome as well. I'm going to put it in the taller pot. I just love the rustic aged feel to this pot. I didn't do anything to this. It's got a really big hole in the bottom, so I'm going to cover that. I'm not trying to stop the drainage, I'm just trying to stop the soil falling straight through. I'm going to break this up a bit because it's a bit root bound. And then what I like to do is just sprinkle some grit around the top, because I just think it finishes the pot off so nicely. And in fact, Just going to tidy these up a bit. So I'm also going to top up the grit on these pots, just freshening it up a bit, because I think it makes a really big difference. Right, let's go and put them on the table. I may get Richard, who's working from home today, to just carry them round for me, unless I can find the trolley. If I can find the trolley, I'll do it myself. Well, I could not be more delighted with my display. I will show you a full frontage view in a minute, but what I also brought out was this is a Lychnis or rose campion that we had in this pot throughout the summer, and the foliage is still looking really good despite the fact we've had really cold temperatures, we've had freezes. It's still looking wonderful and not at all mottled, so I've just kind of balanced these three pots on that side with that one. So I really love this. I think it looks so beautiful. It just adds that splash of colour in the middle of this patio that we really need at this time of year. It's looking a little bit bedraggled maybe. The Carex has flopped a bit, but that's just because I've just rinsed off all the compost. I really like these pot stands because you can barely see them, so I love them. And obviously if the pot is just a little bit too small, then you can see it a lot more. But when the pot is the right size, as in big enough, it really hides the pot stands, and I think it looks really nice. But I really like the structure. I love this zing that I've got here with this lemony green, and it's, you know, picked up here again with that Carex and here with the fern. I love the little splashes of pink that I've got going on with the Euonymus and then with the Heuchera. And I just think it's so pretty, the sea lavender with its silvery fluffy foliage. And the best thing about this is it looks just as good from the other side. So as we're walking around the garden in the winter, it's just going to look really cute from all angles. I really like it. I said that I wasn't going to do loads of spillers, but actually everything is sort of dangling really prettily over the edge. I've got the Heuchera dangling, the Carex dangles, and obviously the fern as it grows will dangle a bit more, and then the Ajuga. And I really like what I've chosen this year. Actually, I'm really happy with those choices. I've had so much fun today doing this, and it didn't take very long, and it's going to last all winter, and it just makes me so happy. I really hope you've enjoyed it too. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.